Hello everyone, welcome to this video about how to use the CAGED system to play a Gypsy Jazz guitar solo. So first, a funny story. Until maybe 1 year ago, I had no idea what the CAGED system actually was. I discovered it in another YouTube video with some people talking about CAGED versus another system, I think 3 notes per string, and I had no idea what they were talking about. But it seemed to be a subject with a lot of controversy or a lot of people in one camp versus another. So I went out and investigated those systems. And then of course I discovered many videos about the CAGED system, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Although I have never used it myself to play a solo, and I figured, you don't really need it to play Gypsy jazz or jazz, so why bother investigating it any further? But then recently I gave a Skype lesson to a student who asked me specifically to maybe tie what I was saying, what I was teaching him, to the CAGED system, since he was very familiar with it. And of course I couldn't do that on the spot, but he did trigger, of course, an idea for a video, and that is this video. So what I try to do is to take typical Gypsy jazz language and tie them to a position in CAGED and tie them to a shape that you would find in that CAGED position. So if you're not familiar with CAGED, this is not the video for you, but if you are familiar with CAGED, then this is the video you've been waiting for, perhaps. Now, if you're not familiar with CAGED, you could of course familiarize yourself with the system. There's many good videos about that. But let's get started. So we're working on the song Them Their Eyes, the song I was playing at the beginning. And I'm just gonna go chord by chord and lick by lick and show you how I devise things to fit inside the CAGED system. So the first chord is D6, and the first phrase I have for you sounds like this. It starts on beat 3, so 3, 4, 1, 2. Now don't watch my fingering, those are just my fingerings. You can use any fingering you want, of course. One more time, 3, 4, 1, 2. The system of CAGED that goes with this shape is the A shape, but then on the 5th fret, so it's basically a D chord, right? Now this lick is based around a D major 7 arpeggio, and in this position of CAGED, you would find that here, and that's the red shape you see in the screen. It sounds like this. So the white note, the white circled note is the root, root, root. I would use this fingering. That's more based on Django with 2 fingers, but of course you don't have to do that. So I would suggest you practice that shape up and down, and then you take a look at this lick and see what happens. So what happens in this lick is that there is one, what they call in jazz an enclosure. That is where I kind of play a lick around one note, in this case the D, right? And then it's just a shape up. of course, there's many ways to vary inside the shape. That's of course your job. Take the CAGED system, take the shape, and play around with it. So let's go to the next shape, and then I will play both of them on the backing track so you can hear how it flows. The next chord is C#7 or D-flat-7, right? That's the same chord. In GYPSY Jazz we would usually play it like this, or like this. And the lick sounds like this, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. There's some blue notes, but they are part of the next shape. So it's not part of this shape, but they start in this bar. So this is the G shape on the 6th fret, right? The G shape. On the 6th fret, you would get something like, right? Many people would just play the top strings. So for this shape, if you have a dominant chord like here, like it's a C#7, right? It's not C# normal, C#7. There's a really nice shape that you can play in GYPSY Jazz, which is basically a G# -6 arpeggio or a flat -6 arpeggio, which is the lick. Actually, it's just a lick. There's some notes before it. They are just approach notes to that -6 arpeggio. So I wrote the -6 arpeggio down as the shape you can practice in this position of CAGED. So that shape sounds like this. Now, the root in this shape is of course not a C#, there is no C# in it, it is actually the G#. So I made that note wide again. There it is. There it is. Really nice sounding shape that sounds great on dominant chords. So whenever you are in this position of CAGED, you know that you can play that shape, you can play around with it. So let's say the chord is E7, then this would be the shape, and then there you have this really nice sounding -6 arpeggio for E7. And of course here you would be playing a B-6. One more, like B-flat-7. You're playing F-6. But you don't even have to know that. Just remember from this position of CAGED, the G shape. You can play this string in this shape. Now let me play both these licks on top of a backing track. And that backing track you can find on my channel. I will put a link to the backing track in the description. One more time. Let me give you one example of using the same shapes but playing something different. Slightly different. So I started a little earlier and I played around with the rhythms. Now something a little bit more different. And you can come up with your own little variations, but that's how it would work. Let's go to the next chord. So we're going back to D, and I chose another shape. So we have two notes in the previous bar that sound like, but those are not important. They're just there to connect the previous shape with the new shape. And this lick sounds like this, 3, 4. 3, 4. So this is the E shape, right, on the 10th fret. It's just this bar shape for D. And the shape that goes with that sounds like this, 3, 4. And again, it's a D major 7 arpeggio. Roots, roots, roots. And this lick is based on that. Now there's an E in it. Right, that's just to make it a little bit nicer, just to embellish the shape, but you don't have to, of course, have to play that. That sounds nice too. By the way, if you want to get these tabs, there's two ways. You can take screen grabs, that's the first way, but the second way is to join my Patreon, and I will make these tabs available at the lowest level, the $5 level. But what you could also do is follow me on Twitch, because I stream there every day. I stream my jazz guitar and gypsy jazz guitar practice. So if you follow me there and say hi in the chat and give me the secret code THEM-THEIR-EYES-TAB, right then and there I will give you a download link. So either go to my Patreon, there's a link in the description, or follow me on Twitch. And my Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Christian van Hemert. There's a link to that in the description. So next we're gonna go to E minor, A7. But you could just think E minor for 2 bars. That's what a lot of people do. They think, so D, E flat 7, D, and then just E minor. And they would maybe play it like this, E minor 7. But you could play it like this too, of course. So the lick sounds like this, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a typical jazz lick, typical gypsy jazz lick. And it's the A minor shape on the 7th fret, but you get this bar chord, right? Now the shape I have for you sounds like this. It's an E minor at 9 arpeggio. So the roots, root, root. And the lick is based around that. I reach up for the root ones here. And then I'm going to play this jazz cliché. That's just part of something that a lot of jazz musicians would do. I didn't include it in the shape because that's really a very distinct sound. You could just play around with the, right? Or you could go down to that C sharp if you want to. Or here, right? Or up there. But the basis is this E minor at 9. So let's say I have the A minor shape in C minor. There, then you can play this one. Okay, let's play the first 4 licks on the backing track. One time a little bit more free. For example, let's go to the next shape. So the next chord is F sharp 7 and the lick sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. So these are 2 shapes, both based on the A shape on the 9th fret. So you get this, right? It's just F sharp major chord. And there's 2 shapes. The first shape sounds like this. That's kind of a F sharp 7 sharp 9 shape. With a C in there, makes it a little bit more special. Really easy shape, sounds really great on F sharp. Although it's a little bit down from the A shape, I would still link it to that in CAGED, because that's the closest. Otherwise you would have the D shape, and that's really far away. So let's go with the A shape, and then the root is still here in the shape. And the second shape is this shape. And that would be an F sharp 7 flat 9. So this is the sharp 9 shape. And this is the flat 9 shape. So in this shape there is an A, that's a sharp 9. And in this shape there's a G, and that's the flat 9. So I combined them, but you could just limit yourself to one shape, or you could play both of them like this, or you could change them around. Let's go to the next chord, and then at the end I will play everything until here. So the F sharp 7 resolves to B minor 7. And the lick sounds like this. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm thinking about the D minor shape on the 9th fret. And the full shape to solo with I'm thinking about is a B minor 6. And you might recognize it because earlier we had A flat minor 6. It's exactly the same shape, but the chord is different. So we learned something interesting here. If you have E7 in the A shape here, this B minor 6 arpeggio fits. But if we have B minor in the D minor shape, we can play the same thing. So B minor 7 and E7 have a lot of in common. So the shapes of CAGED are completely different. But the notes you can use to solo over can be the same. And in the lick I go down to the root, but of course you don't have to do that. You can just stick to the shape. So let's play the complete solo until here, and then we have 2 more shapes to finish off the video. Alright, 2 more shapes. Next chord is E7, and the lick sounds like this. 3, 4. Again, we have the blue notes, they're not part of the shape. 1, 2, 3, 4. Typical Gypsy Jazz, typical Django. And it's the E shape on the 12th fret, so just the bar chord, right? Now this shape is really nice that you can play here. It sounds like this. Just a pattern of 3 chromatic notes on the top 4 strings. Pivot down, pivot up. And the nice thing about this shape is that you can mess with the patterns all you want. You can change the order, repeat patterns. And then there's this bend. It's not part of the shape, but it's in the lick, so you can incorporate that. Now let's go to the final shape, and then I'll play the complete solo. And the final chord for this video, and it's the first half of the song, is A7. And the lick sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, 4. The last note is part of the next chord, which is D again. So it's about the first 2 bars. And this is the D shape, but on the 7th fret. So we get here just an A chord. This shape is a little bit complicated. It sounds like this. Not too much. Now, in practice, I would mainly play the shape on the top 4 strings. Right? That's for me the nicest part of the shape. And the lick itself has some chromatics. And the bend. You can add that, but of course practice the shape as is. Let me play the complete solo until here, and then I'll give my thoughts on how you could practice this yourself. So how to go about practicing playing like this? I would practice each shape separately on a backing track with a single chord. So just record for yourself on your phone or something, just playing the D chord. For a long time, 10 minutes, right? Maybe you can loop it if you have software, or you just play it for 10 minutes, maybe with a click on your ears so that you have a steady tempo, slow tempo of course, and then play around with the two shapes for D that you have here, right? You have, and you have, and just start messing around with those shapes. Of course, you can also play the licks that I chose for you, but you can also come up with your own stuff. And then do the same thing for the next chord, D flat 7. And then for the E minor and for the F sharp 7, the B minor, until you have each shape in your fingers. Now, some of the shapes are the same, right? The A flat minor 6 and the B minor 6, same shape, different frets. So that's going to be easy. And then start connecting two shapes in a row. So the first two chords, D and D flat 7, right? And then D and E minor. And eventually, of course, you connect every shape. Now, it's very important that you do it slowly. And it's very important that you try to play everything with good timing. I will link a video in the description that talks about good timing. And who knows, maybe by then I will have released a second video with more shapes based on the CAGED system, depending on how many people like this video. I hope you'll enjoy it. Don't forget, if you want to tap, you can join my Patreon, or you can follow me on Twitch and say hi in the chat and give me the secret code THEM-THEIR-EYES-TAP, and I will get the tap to you guaranteed. Until the next video, bye.